There's no reason that kids ain't making it to see 16, 18, 21.
We're never gonna heal and we're never gonna move forward if we don't address the issue.
I don't really know why it's not being viewed as a genocide of us right now.
If you don't have the right people in your corner, they're failed, like from birth, basically.
Your life could vanish, or you could lose your life to the system.
What kind of society are we that this is what we're doing to our teens?
We are currently living through one of Louisville's most deadly years on record. The gun violence has spread through every section of our society. Thanks for joining us for this WHAS 11 special, Breaking the Cycle. I'm Kristin Goodwillie. We have heard from lawmakers, police, community leaders. So for the past few months, we have been listening. Tonight, you're going to hear from average people living in the areas showered by gunshots and a man sucked into the system, locked up at just 16. But most importantly, a message from teenagers who have been impacted by this violence and empowered to change. It has seeped into every community, whether you live in downtown West, South, or East Louisville. This map shows every homicide LMPD detectives have investigated through November 15th, 170 of them. 21 of those victims are kids under 18, the youngest just 7 weeks old. More kids have been killed in the 40211 and 40212 zip codes, with 4 kids killed in each zip code. Living on a particular block could increase the likelihood that someone you love is killed. I'm here on Cecil Avenue, and it's not a busy street. It feels more like your average residential area. But this short stretch is home to some of the highest crime rates in our area.
It saddens me when a kid can't come outside and play.
We're standing one house down from a memorial for 2 teenage girls killed on Cecil Avenue.
I got 2 children, and that was unnecessary. It saddens me right now as we speak. I knew the girls.
This short stretch has seen more homicides than any other in Louisville.
Sometimes I hear a lot of fireworks. I think it depends now. Gunshots and fireworks sound the same.
While we were there, it was mostly quiet. School buses dropped kids off.
We might have to go.
But at one point, 2 cars stopped in the middle of the street, revving their engines, broken glass shattered, and they began speeding up and down the street.
Normally when they drive up and down the street, it gets a little bad. Yeah.
People don't hear fights or arguments. It's mostly rounds sprayed from cars in drive-by shootings.
We don't even know who's shooting who.
3 people have been killed on Bardstown Road. The violence has reached a point that community ambassadors now walk down the street to make people feel safer.
Do you feel safe though, kind of walking?
I mean, alone, no, but in groups, it's fine.
It's gone on more than the last couple of years, but it's gotten worse and worse and worse.
On Kentucky Street,
it's just part of nature.
Almost every person we talked with had been impacted by gun violence.
I mean, it's terrible for this area to be so small. I mean, gunfire every night. I mean, proof. I mean, this is what happened to my vehicle.
Red paint breaks around the bullet hole in this man's truck. He's asked to remain anonymous.
Just imagine if my truck wasn't here. Where would it be then? It probably would be in my front window right there or something.
In the house that he raises his young child.
That's the problem. Kids with guns.
It's like they playing a video game, thinking that you're gonna be able to press rewind or reset. Ain't no reset button with the games y'all out here playing.
No arrests have been made in about 62% of cases involving murdered kids.
This code that's out there, don't snitch, don't tell.
Everybody who lives in the community's got to stop it. We've got to say no more.
This gun violence impacts the entire city. It's not just the neighborhoods where these crimes are being reported. In fact, it's costing the city millions of your tax dollars. The National Institute for Criminal Justice Reform recently released a study breaking down the cost of violence in Louisville. They looked at the price of crime scene response, the hospital stay and rehab, the criminal justice process for offenders, jail costs, the resources to support victims and families, and the lost tax revenue from victims and offenders. Added together, each deadly shooting cost taxpayers more than $900,000. For injury shootings, it's more than $508,000. The study found if the city could reduce violence by just 20%, it would save the government $62.8 million every year. Gun violence has increased across the country. According to the Gun Violence Archive, 2020 was the most violent year in the past 2 decades, and 2021 is looking to be even more deadly. Louisville isn't unique in this trend. I went to Roots 101 African American Museum and talked with Lamont Collins about the correlation between poverty and crime.
We're still dealing with the same issues today that we dealt with when I was a kid in the 1960s.
The 2 zip codes that have the highest teenage deaths both fall in West Louisville, past the 9th Street divide.
Yeah, well, when you talk about redlining, it was a diabolical plan to take resources, again, from the cities, the inner cities.
Resources that Lamont Collins says have been drained for a long time.
When the flight started in West End of Louisville, is after the riots in 1968. That's when we had white flight. And when white flight left, a lot of businesses left, because a lot of times when blacks were working in stores, doesn't mean they own the store.
The lack of businesses, jobs, grocery stores in West Louisville is an ever-increasing problem today.
We know what happens when you don't have resources. Crime happens, lack of education happens, opportunities go away.
But Collins says it's important to show the broader picture of crime.
But you talk about the crime that's going on in the black area when it's going on in poor white areas too. That is a story and a narrative that has been placed too much in color and not in factuality. And those are the kind of things we have to continue to address.
That to lower the crime, we must also tackle the systemic poverty in our city.
But you gotta be willing to put the resources if you're gonna change something. And that's from the city to the county, to the Jefferson County school system. You got to feed the resources to make change.
When you look at Louisville's homicides, teenagers not only make up many of the victims, but also the offenders. LMPD data as of November 15th shows out of 62 homicide suspects arrested, 6 have been 17 or younger. That's 9%. Of the 170 homicides detectives have investigated this year, 21 victims were 17 or younger. In all of 2020, 16 victims were in that age group. So what's the reason behind that increase? We sat down with local teens for their take.
Systemic racism or being poverty struck and redlined, stuff like that. It can make you want to get a gun and try to, like, say if you're poverty struck and go rob a bank or something.
You'll hear more from Jakeem and other teens a little later. But first, we took that same question to local prosecutors and one man first incarcerated as a teenager himself.
I ain't been to prom. I missed my 18th birthday, my 21st birthday. I ain't never had a car or nothing like that.
22-year-old Lamont Gracia was a teenager when he was first incarcerated.
I didn't have as much as everybody else had, so I always felt like out of place.
Arrested for burglary.
Yeah, I'm from Louisville. I'm from Newburgh. It was kind of rough growing up.
A product of his surroundings, Gracia didn't see another way out.
Because that's all I've witnessed my whole life is jail and death.
Jefferson County prosecutors are seeing an alarming trend in kids committing crimes.
It used to be that it would be 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds who were being brought upstairs as youthful offenders, but now, I mean, there are 14-year-old carjackers.
Not only are the ages trending down, the crimes are becoming more violent.
And a lot of the murders have been juvenile related, either victim or defendant.
Getting to the root of the issue, police and prosecutors have identified 3 main reasons for the uptick in violence.
A lot of what I've seen seems to involve social media slights. Different groups of people are able to continue to have like beefs and frictions that maybe without social media they wouldn't have that connection.
Arguments and bullying are now happening on social media.
I'm not saying like social media causes this, but social media is the platform on which they insult each other now.
Well, not every homicide has a direct link. It is an ever-increasing presence in their cases.
We do have some cases where we know for sure that the the fight started on social media. And I would imagine a lot of these drive-bys are for that reason.
It's not a coincidence the two most violent years in Louisville happened during the pandemic. Gyms and community centers were closed down. Kids were left at home instead of in school.
So I think just the isolation of the pandemic probably is a large driver of this, but it started before the pandemic, so it's more than that.
Police believe it's the lack of a juvenile detention system in the city after the youth detention center closed in 2019.
The biggest reason that we have an increase in shooters that are juveniles is the lack of consequences. There are no consequences for these juveniles in this city. They know it.
No one with LMPD was available for an interview, but Chief Shields addressed it on the department's podcast.
I think police more than anyone see the trajectory that these kids are on and know that if there is not some level of interference run, they are going to end up in a body bag.
It's a fine line between balancing a fair sentence and committing a kid into the system.
We've got to deal with the people who are committing carjackings right now. Like, they have to be taken off the street, at least for a short time. You cannot just bring somebody in, send them back out to the same neighborhood with the same friends and hope that a day in the courtroom fixed it.
Gracia was resentenced at 18, like all juveniles in the state of Kentucky. He's spent the last 4 years in state prison.
No, I did the wrong thing, but they could have gave me another chance at life.
It's a problem that Gracia says has more to do with resources or a lack of them.
I was growing up, there wasn't no programs in my neighborhood that did anything like that. There wasn't nobody who did nothing like that.
Officials agree funds for youth services have been depleting for years.
Some people in the state are a little more fiscally minded, and they don't want to invest as much resources into that program and those programs as they need to.
And we need programs for those kids, programs for the families, to give them help to keep them out of this.
And this year in particular, more teens are being killed. It's a reality Gracia is well aware of. He's had friends die from gun violence while being locked up.
A lot of things that need to be touched on, or it's just gonna keep happening. People's just gonna keep dying. Kids is gonna keep going to jail, and it's just gonna be the same cycle.
City leaders say they're working with the state to address the youth detention center issues. But in the meantime, Metro Council has approved $3 million to go towards a juvenile assessment center. Right now, when an officer arrests a juvenile, they have to stay with them for several hours. The assessment center would provide a place for kids in custody to wait and remain supervised until a judge determines next steps. The funds will be used to hire 5 court-sworn officers to work the facility, freeing up police. The Juvenile Justice Advisory Committee is setting up a work group to advise on this project. You've heard from the officials, but next, hear directly from the teens themselves.
Do you guys feel safe?
No. No.
It's no safety.
How the violence impacts their everyday lives when we come back.
Inside the new documentary zeroing in on Janet's Super Bowl halftime backlash. Her career suffered. Next ET.
Tonight at 7 on WHAS 11.
Black market butt lifts? She isn't even a doctor. And what's in those syringes? Next, Inside Edition.
Tonight at 7:30 on WHAS 11.
Remember, get the guaranteed lowest price in Louisville.
Or it's free at Furniture Fair.
If you're looking for a winning team, look no further than Big O Tires. Our line of tires and services will tackle anything getting in your way. With no credit check needed financing available, only at your locally owned Big O Tires.
Wow.
Think they'll take our case? Hi, Mr. Cooper. Here for your injury case?
We're just regular people.
Oh, at Morgan & Morgan, we treat all our clients like VIPs.
I think this means we're famous now.
Just got my Benjamins.
Follow me?
You don't have to be famous to hire America's largest injury law firm, Morgan & Morgan.
It's a fact. 2 out of 3 Americans who qualify for Medicare do not receive all the benefits they deserve. You could be missing out. Now, Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield introduces a free Medicare plan checkup to make sure you receive all the benefits you qualify for in 2022. Call 1-800-668-0176 today. and receive extra benefits for a $0 monthly premium. Benefits like dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drugs. And to help you stay healthy at home, you can have free prescription drug delivery, online doctor visits 24/7, and free exercise classes. You can even receive money towards over-the-counter health items. Call 1-800-668-0176 today and feel confident you have all the benefits you deserve for 2022. You can receive extra benefits for a $0 monthly premium like dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drugs. Call 1-800-668-0176 and make sure you're not missing out.
Big O Tires is having big Black Friday savings. November 15th through November 29th. Buy 3, get 1 free on select sets of tires. Plus, get up to $190 in savings on Michelin tires with credit options made easy. Only at Big O Tires.
WHAS 11 News is sponsored by Annabelle's Oriental Rugs. Hear from Elle Smith as she prepares for Miss USA, Monday at 11.
We have an entire generation growing up with yearly school shootings, surviving a pandemic, yet persevering despite growing violent crime rates. They are our future, and yet they rarely get a seat at the table. So we pulled up a chair to listen to teens from all corners of our community for a roundtable discussion. What we found is all of them had been impacted by violence, and they have a message they would like you to hear.
You don't have to have enemies for a bullet to have your name on it.
This can happen anywhere in the city. You're not safe in every single square inch.
It's like a sense of fear that like just dwells on you.
It's saving our children from the barrel of a gun that you've refused to act on for too long.
If we're the future, then we got to do something now.
We went to Roots 101 and sat down with 10 teenagers, ranging in age from 14 to 17 years old. They go to different schools around Louisville, and yet all of them have felt the stress this violence is taking on our community.
Get a little paranoid about I'm always checking where I'm at, so I worry about my surroundings because I'm scared at times that it could be me that gets hit or someone that's close to me. So it makes me in a constant worry.
Something that you have to really keep a lookout for, because you never know what's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen. You just have to be aware of your surroundings.
And we're not safe at school. We can't be safe at home. We can't be safe at a park. So where are we supposed to be safe? Nowhere.
I don't even think I have to walk out of the door to feel some type of anxiety about my life ending today or tomorrow.
Areas that were once safe spaces, like school or home, are no longer sanctuaries for kids. Just this year, Tyree Smith was killed waiting for a school bus.
How many of you guys have been impacted or seen the violence that's happening in Louisville? And you can raise your hands if you want. How does that make you feel?
So you don't know what those kids could have done for the world. You don't know if they killed the next president. They don't know if they killed the next person that could have cured the next disease that might have came up. You don't know what they could have been. They could have been something great that could have changed our nation.
I mean, you live in Louisville, you get impacted.
If we refuse to look at what's causing the issue, we can't save kids from what's happening to them.
The fights start on social media, whether that be bullying or insults.
Social media is a way you can start a small argument with somebody over that, and then it turns to something like attempted killing or attempted murder.
Kids are really being raised by TikTok. I feel like adults in today's society don't take out the time, even if they're not your kid, they don't take out the time to try to help raise kids that need that guidance.
So what do you guys think is causing the issue?
I think just our way of socialization has changed so much in the past few years that we've really lost kind of our origins on how we actually communicate and how we make friends.
One of the main reasons that there is so much gun violence in the young community is because people grow up in neighborhoods full of poverty.
I feel like that the schools, the school board should step up because they know that it's going to keep happening and keep happening.
We have to start investing in the communities that we need it the most.
What do you think the community can do?
The community, they need therapists so they can get themselves in order, and you can help the young people, helping their minds develop and learning good coping skills.
It's too easy to get a gun from somebody. Somebody could just hand you a gun if they feel like it.
Gun violence has really affected everybody. But you can't, I see what the community has to do, but you also have to think about the government also in Kentucky.
We have the power to say no more. We have the power to say, you're going to address this or we're going to find somebody who will. We can't not talk about it, because the longer we don't talk about it, the worse it's gonna get.
We elected you to be our protectors. If you're the lawmaker, then you have the ability and the power to make the law to protect us. But you refusing to do that, what did I vote you in for?
We just need to get some unity over the whole Louisville right now.
There was a licensed therapist who specializes in child trauma at the Teen Roundtable. She was there to listen in and talk with anybody who may have been triggered by the heavy topics that aren't just affecting children, but families as well. I sat down with counselors Renisha Martin and Lauren Muir to talk about issues that they're seeing.
They've seen an increase in isolation, or their children are aggressive, or they're becoming more defiant.
Martin and Muir say more adults are recognizing they need help, which allows them to treat the system, not just individuals. They say underlying factors include untreated trauma and an increase in homeless families, substance abuse, and domestic violence. When it comes to how you can make a difference, Martin says we have to break down the stigma surrounding mental health.
To have an honest conversation about mental health and how the things that we're experiencing in this city is causing a lot of PTSD, not only through the violence, but also the pandemic. We are being affected mentally, and it's showing.
And that's not the only way to have an impact.
Our kids are now. They need to be heard now. We need to give them the resources now. We need to give them opportunities now.
When we come back, we'll introduce you to people in our community who have made it their mission to reduce youth violence, how you can join their efforts.
Hi, Shane Huffman with the Neil Huffman Automotive Group. Visit us at neilhuffman.com. Huffman has it.
When it's time to buy new appliances and electronics, there are so many options. Finding the right one can seem overwhelming. At LG&E, we're empowering a smarter way to shop. Introducing the Marketplace. With more than 10,000 items, the Marketplace not only guides you to the products that save you the most energy, but also links directly to retailers who can save you the most money. Compare, shop, and save today.
It's that time of year when temperatures can go from the 50s and 60s one day to having snow on the ground the next. That's Kentuckiana weather for you. I'm Vince Hauser with Absolute Services. To keep you from getting caught in the cold, we are offering a heating system tune-up for just $59. Let us come out and make sure you're ready when the weather turns cold. Give us a call right now to schedule your heating system tune-up for $59. Be one step ahead of the cold with help from Absolute Services.
We wear them on our sleeves and give them away. Hearts are important, and we at Cleveland Clinic are the nation's #1 heart program.
People talk about go to Cleveland Clinic, do your research. They're the best. I was extremely grateful for the doctors at Cleveland Clinic.
For every diagnosis, for every triumph, for every care in the world. Cleveland Clinic. If you've been diagnosed with a heart condition, call 855-405-3559. The holiday season has arrived, and so has the Get Holiday Ready sales event at your Ford dealer. Inventory is arriving daily, so it's the best time to buy a Ford F-Series. Get a Ford F-150 with 0 for $60, plus get $500 in retail bonus cash. It's time to get holiday ready with Ford. Get a Ford F-150 with 0 for $60 and $500 retail bonus cash, plus complimentary maintenance when you sign up for Ford Pass Rewards. See your Ford dealer today.
When you get hurt, you need help, and you need it fast. Call 800-800-4600.
Hughes and Coleman, 800-800-4600.
The First Alert Storm Team forecast on WHAS 11 News is sponsored by Elite Heating and Air Conditioning and U of L Health.
What is your job? Because everyone in Louisville is responsible for Louisville.
Following the death of 16-year-old Tyree Smith at his bus stop, Metro Councilman Ja'Cory Arthur called on everyone in the community to get involved. And there are many grassroots organizations in our community trying to make a difference. The list is long, and those involved are passionate about the future of our young kids. I spoke with a small fraction of adults trying to curb this violence.
We try to do direct engagement with individuals who are potential shooters or shooters.
Just for you to have a space to come to and be creative and express yourself in a way that maybe is not so easy.
Using hip hop as a tool for self-empowerment, as a tool for mentorship.
They're the boots on the ground organizations who are working with kids every day.
We must be in the jobs of rebuilding community. Where did we lose that connection at?
Hip Hop Into Learning releases music videos addressing the violence in our city. Amped also utilizes music to give kids a voice.
Nobody's asking why. Like, why do they feel this way? Why are they responding in this way?
Dr. Eddie Woods has been doing the work for decades.
We were very effective. If we ever get funded to capacity, we could even be more effective.
Funding is a major barrier for most grassroots organizations, something the Juvenile Justice Advisory Committee addresses.
We have this money for our young folks in the city, and as far as how we allocate those funds, we need more feedback from our community.
The Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods is also trying to use money from ARP funds to build a trauma-informed city.
Our young people don't necessarily need punitive strategies. Our young people need support.
But that still isn't enough as kids continue to die.
What is it that we're doing? What is it that you can do? What is it that we all can do so we can be responsible for Louisville?
Transcending income and geography, the crime is impacting us all. Some pay with their lives, but we are all paying taxes into a broken system. This is our community. These are our kids. The responsibility falls on all of us. We have a guide online to resources and local grassroots organizations working hard to break the cycle. Ultimately, this is our city, and we all play a part in the solutions. I'm Kristin Goodwillie, WHAS 11 News, on your side.